Hi guys, welcome back to the next episode of Don't Fear the Wait with your tiny, apparently I'm a tiny titan at this point. I am Vicky Masita. As per usual, I am in my Harry Potter cupboard. If anybody has missed all of the excitement, we are now locked down. So we are locked in lockdown. Welcome to it. I think this is lockdown number 374 that we are in now. But do you know what? We are still kind of cracking on the way that we are doing. People are still living and walking around. And if they are those rapscallions who are going out more than once a day and giving it the old fingers to Boris, then fair enough. I've only had one walk today so far. Cam, how many walks have you had today?
I've had one, but I'm going to go on another one after this podcast, so I'm going to be a rebel.
So you're being a bit of a rapscallion as well at this point.
Yeah.
It's all right. I'll have my dinner and then I'm going to go and take my dog for a secondary walk of the day because, you know, a big dog needs 2 walks. And I am talking about my dog, not my husband at that point. So for people who do not know who I am talking to a very, very lovely lady, also an IFBB Pro, Kamara Graham. How are you, my love?
I am good, thank you. Good. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about my background. I think as that's probably a good place to start if people don't know me. So I have been competing for around 6 years now. I started competing in 2015 and I'd only been training for about 6 months before I decided, I'm big enough to do a show. So yeah, I started competing in 2015. I did my first show, which was the Saxon Classic, which was IBFA before it become PCA. Yes. So PCA took over that show. So it was IBFA when I first did it. I did toned figure first timers. And yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed it. I loved toned figure. Like that was where my heart was at the time. Absolutely loved it. I come third in the first timers category and then went to the British finals. And then in June in the British finals, where did I come? 4th or 5th? I can't really remember. I think my trophy's up there.
It was that memorable on that first year.
4th or 5th. I think it might have been 4th actually. Which I was super happy about for my first year, bearing in mind that I only come third in my first show to then go to the British finals and then still place 4th is just kind of shows the standards of the shows was quite good at that point. But yeah, and then going forward from there, I did multiple shows. So altogether, I've done about 18 shows.
Oh, wow.
And I can't even remember off the top of my head all the shows and all the placings. So I'm just going to say like I've done toned figure and athletic figure. I've competed in NABA and PCA, altogether about 18, 19 shows. And in every single one, I've always placed top 5.
Okay.
So I've never placed any lower than 5th. And that's British finals as well. So I'm quite happy with my amateur career. I really, really enjoyed it and I made the most out of it. I did lots of shows back to back as people do when you're in the scene and you're jumping on lots of shows. And then from there, I then coached myself after leaving my old coach, Dan Welburn. I was with him for about 3 years. He coached me for quite a while. We then I separated it off when I bought my house. And I just wanted a little bit of downtime to kind of get my head in business and work and things like that. So I took 2 years out, then decided to coach myself for fitness, which is now currently the category that I turned pro in. I really, really love fitness. Like for me, it's a very me category with my gymnastics background and things like that. And then obviously I turned pro in March 2019, which I coached myself for. And then after that show, I then joined Cuba. And I've now been coached by Cuba ever since. We've done like a whole off season and now a pro debut together. And now we'll be working on my off season now for my next show.
That was a really nice rundown of absolutely everything. I take it that you've talked about that a little bit beforehand.
Yeah, quite a lot.
a few times. Okay, cool. So obviously, how old are you, first of all?
Pardon?
How old are you?
I'm 26.
So 26 years old, you've competed in like 18, 19 shows, you've got a pro card, you've gone from toned figure to athletic figure to now fitness, with all of the routines that you've been involved in. So you're really quite an evolved bodybuilder for your age at the same time,
Yeah.
which is quite inspiring, realistically. Do you ever feel that you're out of your depth in any kind of scenarios? Because you're not just a bodybuilder, are you? It's not like that's your full-time job.
Yeah, so alongside bodybuilding, my dog's just walked in the room.
It's all
Hello.
right. He can join in. It's fine.
So yeah, alongside bodybuilding, I also am a sports therapist. So I do that like a couple of days a week, and about 2 days a week at the minute. And then obviously I'm online coaching it as well. Online coaching is just as of recently this year, because of the lockdown, become pretty much my full-time job. And like my sports therapist kind of took a little bit of a back seat. In terms of bodybuilding and maybe feeling out of depth, maybe, I don't know, like my gymnastics isn't as good as some of the other girls, but I do honestly feel like that isn't a massive part of it. I mean, if you look at, say, like Oksana, for example, she isn't a gymnast, she's a dancer. And she still performs some gymnastics moves, but unlike say Missy that won this year, unlike Missy, she doesn't do full tumbles. So she doesn't do like a full tumble across the stage, whereas a lot of the other girls do. And I think Oksana winning it like for like 4 or 5, no, she won it for about 5 years in a row, 6 years in a row. That kind of says that you don't need to be a full-on gymnast, I don't think, to do well in it. And also Kate Errington's another good UK pro, and she's like a burlesque dancer. She doesn't do gymnastics, so I feel like I feel a little bit out of depth in that, but you know, it is what it is. You've just got to bring up your other aspects that you can do better and show them off.
That's it. And in the fitness routine, you actually have to have mandatory moves, don't you, in terms of that routine? Yeah. So what are the mandatory routine moves that you've got to do in those ones?
Okay, so there's 4 mandatory moves. You have to have a side split. You have to have like a hold, like a lever hold, like a straddle hold. Also, what are the others? A high kick.
Yeah.
And a press up combination. So the press up combination can be like fly press ups, jump press ups, one-handed press ups, all the crazy press ups that the fitness girls do.
Yeah. It doesn't necessarily have to be the stuff that Oksana does, because Oksana's push-up complex is absolutely insane.
Yeah. So it can be like whatever you can do push-up wise is what you do. So you can make it as hard or as easy as you want. The thing is though, if you're going to go for harder moves, you've got to perfect it. Yeah. Like what they like is absolute perfection. They like hard moves looking easy. If you do a hard move and it looks hard, they're not going to like it. Like to me, everything you need to do needs to be done with perfection. And if you can't, then don't bother putting it in.
Yeah, absolutely. So what made you want to make the transition then? Obviously at a certain age you loved toned figure. What made you want to do the transition all the way through to the fitness? And actually, because I mean, if you have a look at the figure aspect, you just do an eye walk and it's beautiful and elegant and it's very flouncy and it's very feminine as well. As I'm not saying that fitness isn't, obviously, but in comparison it's all like very figurey, if you get what I mean by that. I don't talk any kind of sense. So in terms of going from that beautiful, elegant eye walk to then tumbling, jumping around, doing your balances and that kind of thing, what made you just kind of go, oh, do you know what? I want to do that.
So obviously I stopped competing in gymnastics when I was 18. And obviously I started when I was 6. So I'd done that for quite a while. Come out due to an injury, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, so like going forward from there, I always dabbled in a little bit of gymnastics alongside, just for fun, alongside whilst I did toned figure. So I did stay rather flexible. I was still doing odd little tumbles. I was still doing little bits alongside my bodybuilding, but obviously at that time my bodybuilding and my physique was my main priority. I always did want to do fitness. Like I always admired fitness from when I was doing toned figure, but I knew at the time when I was competing in toned figure, I was way too small to be able to jump into the category of fitness, because fitness at that point was UKBFF. and the fitness was very similar sort of size to athletic, maybe a little bit bigger, because it's more like it's pretty much physique size is the same as figure. So figure and fitness, they're very, very similar on the physique side. So I think that the reason why I was kind of like, oh, well, I don't feel like I'm big enough for it just yet, but I still loved bodybuilding and I still loved gymnastics. So in the background, I was still doing gymnastics a couple of days a week, and then obviously still competing in in toned figure. And then obviously I moved up from toned figure to athletic figure. PCA moved me up. They said, like, you need to move up into the bigger category. So I did. I moved up and I enjoyed it. And I probably only did like 1 year in athletic, and then I decided that's when I bought my house and I was going to have like a little bit of downtime. And then within them 2 years, because I wasn't competing, I still trained and I still enjoyed myself, and I still stuck to a reasonably-ish good plan.
Yeah.
Obviously I enjoyed myself because I wasn't competing, but I kept myself in shape and I still did my gymnastics, but my gymnastics become like a big part of my life within them 2 years because I wasn't competing in anything. It become a really big focus for me. And then within that time, I think within them 2 years, I thought, do you know what, like, I'm going to go for fitness. I'm going to do it. So after the first year that I took out, the second year, I had a full year off season and I started absolutely hammering my gymnastics like 2 to 3 times a week, and started on a routine. And I started my routine actually like a year out from when I decided I was going to do my show, because I just wanted to make sure that I had enough time. And do you know what's worse is I didn't want to show myself up. Because people know that I've done gymnastics in the past and I've obviously been out of it due to an injury, and I just thought I don't want to get on stage and show myself up. Obviously with doing so well in toned figure and in an athletic figure as an amateur, I thought going into this it's a whole new level, it's a whole different playing field, but I wanted to do well in the figure aspect and in the gymnastics aspect and my routine and things. So I just thought, right, I'm just going to get my head down for this last year. So I absolutely hammered it in the last year, and then was working together with another lady that puts my routines together for me, and we worked together for about a year out from my show.
That's incredible. I mean, everybody keeps on going on, and I'd say it as well, the same. You need to make sure that you are practicing your posing every single day, even in the off season when you feel like a potato and, your bikini doesn't fit and that kind of thing. It's just like, it doesn't matter. Just put it on, put your heels on and go and strut around the house and obviously practice your posing. But the same thing does go for your routine. If you are a competitor who needs to do a routine, then you need to bloody nail it. And it's like you were saying, the worst thing that you want to do is an attempt to a tumble or something along those lines, and you miss your hand placement, and then that's it. You obviously go off on one. So you were talking about an injury, and you're still going through that injury at the moment, aren't you? So what was it that happened?
So they're actually 2 different injuries. I don't think that they are related at all, but who knows, they could be. I'm just waiting on an MRI at the minute. But so the first injury that I had was I dislocated my shoulder in gymnastics.
Right.
So for any gymnasts that are listening to this, I was on the training bar. It's like a metal bar, and basically you wear gloves and you have like loops. So it's just like loops that you have for training. They're very similar to them. But I had one loop that was bigger than the other, and I didn't realize that one side was bigger than the other. And obviously I'm going round and my hand slips out. My hand, it was my right arm that slipped out, and my left arm was left. And so I kind of crumple on top of the bar and then fall below the bar, and then I'm dangling in. Obviously it's in a pit.
Sure.
So I didn't have the strength because I'm dangling just on one dislocated arm to pull myself up. So my coach had to run across and cut me off, and someone grabbed me from below. So yeah, that was an experience. I had dropped shoulder for a while after that. For a good 6 to 8 months after that, I did lots of physio and rehab on it. And then eventually now, like, I don't seem to have any issues. My left side is just as strong as my right side, and I don't feel like it causes me any problems. And I've been back to gymnastics since and been fine. but that did bring me out of competing because of how long I had to have out from gymnastics. It was probably just over a year and a half, and the squad that I was competing with then obviously progressed further forwards and was doing a lot better, and I had like a year or 2 years to catch up on, so I never really got back into it after that. I just kind of did it for fun. Now the injury that I've got at the minute is it's a radiculopathy, which is basically it's so you've got your spine, and then obviously you've got your root nerves. It's basically just one of your root nerves that's either trapped or being impinged. So basically the doctors and things that I've spoke to, and the specialists that I've seen, have said that it's either spinal stenosis or it's a disc herniation. So I'm just waiting on an MRI at the minute. It's sort of in my neck, so it's probably like C7, C6, we think. But the minute it just caused a few issues. I've not actually done gymnastics for the past 5 to 6 weeks. I've still been stretching, I've still been doing everything I can. I just can't do handstands, I can't do tumbles. I can still do balances and things like that, so I am doing what I can do from home, but in terms of like real gymnastics work, not so much. It kind of gives me pain in my neck, and then it kind of runs down like nerve pain down my arms into my fingers. And then I can get loss of strength in both arms as well, to the point where I can't even hold my phone in my hand.
Oh goodness.
So it is quite serious at the minute, but I'm dealing with it okay. Like I've got a couple of like rehab things that I'm doing for it just to try and help. But alongside that, obviously I'm on a lot of painkillers and stuff just for when it does flare up. I'm trying not to take them every day because I don't need them every day. I'm only taking them when it's really bad. But yeah, all in all, I'm managing it quite well. I'm still managing to train. I'm still getting all my sessions in, and I've not missed anything. So I think with the injury at the minute, I am dealing with it quite well.
Yeah, for sure. It's really refreshing actually to hear you talk about an injury like that, because there are so many people in this world who will look at that as a negative entity and drive all of their negative emotions into that and have a negative outcome because of the mood that they put themselves in because of that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
And it's the same kind of thing with this lockdown. I mean, we just had a little bit of a chat off air in terms of like how the lockdown's affecting yourself and what kind of mindset that we have towards it. And I mean, I've obviously been having a look at your stories and that over the last few days. So we had some questions to kind of go on this side of things. But I can always see that there's a big difference between people who are putting out questions by saying, you know, how do you keep motivated in the lockdown? And then, you know, people put in pictures of them walking outside and going, look at the frosty morning today, you know. Have you got your online clients, have they obviously since the gyms got locked down, did they come to you with a little bit of an emotional panic, and if they did, how did you deal with it?
Yes, I had 2 in particular that were very emotional, very sort of taken back from it, and kind of needed a little bit more support than the others. Most of my clients have already been through the first 2 lockdowns with me. So they've sort of already got equipment, they're already set up, they're already rolling, and it's just, come on guys, it's the same as last time. And they was all sort of on the ball, and there was like, in fact, some of them are more determined now than they were in the first and second lockdown, just because there was like, right, this lockdown is not having me. Like, it was all quite determined in that sort of sense. But the 2 that were sort of in particular quite emotional and quite brought down from it, I actually jumped on a call with them as soon as I could, and spoke to them in person, like face to face over Zoom, just to kind of, you know, like reassure them and things like that. But I kind of set them individual targets. So I've obviously spoke to all my clients and asked them to set goals and things like that for the lockdown, which I know a lot of people are doing. But I spoke to them on Zoom and just kind of said, like, look, what do you want to get out the end of this lockdown, and how are you going to go about doing it? And just kind of basically spoke them and talked them through it all, and then them having them clear goals. And then I said to them, like, what do you need to get done in a week? What do you need to get done each day? And then I literally went with them, and they had a book, and I was writing it all down, and then I was telling them what to do. And literally I planned their whole week out for them, and I was like, this is what you need to do every week. And they was like, yeah, I do. And like, ever since that, obviously it was only earlier in the week, but the past couple of days they seem to have been on it. Obviously, who knows, they might struggle from now, like, I don't know, but they seem to have been really, really on it ever since they've sort of stuck to a routine and got structure, and they've got goals to hit. So I just said, like, them two in particular want to compete as well, first timers. So I said, look, your goals are still there. The goals are still the same. We just have to adapt because we're training somewhere different. We're training with less equipment. Yes, you might not be able to physically progress. Some will, some won't. Depends on what equipment you've got. But I said, at the end of the day, what you have got, muscular wise, you don't want to lose. So you need to train as hard as you can with what you've got to your best ability, to maintain what you've got, so we're not going backwards. And as some of my clients as well, like one or two of them are emotional eaters, and I know that a lot of people are emotional eaters as well. So them ones that I knew, I immediately was like, I'm going to ring you. No, there was all really good, to be fair. Like, most of mine were quite on it this time with the lockdown, and I think that's because we've already been through two. And there was all quite motivated and on it. So yeah, I just kind of set goals, and they've all just kind of gone from there and seem to be really hitting it.
It's really, really important. I mean, it's so nice as well, because I'm of exactly the same ilk. Routine and structure is so fundamental. And when people lose that routine and structure, that's exactly when their head goes west, and that's the reason why. I don't know whether you've had the same thing, but that's the reason why some people, for example, kind of go off it over Christmas and New Year, because all of a sudden they're not at work, the kids aren't at school, the gyms are different opening hours, and that kind of thing. So all of a sudden their routine is not the same. They don't have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, because they can have that decision to lie in until 7. And then their day gets messed up because they're 2 hours behind their first meal and that kind of stuff. And by having that structure and that routine, no matter what happens and no matter what the world throws at you, as long as you just kind of go, well, yeah, it's fine. I'm still going to get up in the morning, and I'm still going to do my daily routine, still going to do my walk, still going to look after the kids, etc., etc. You still have something to actually aim towards and follow. And the body thrives on routine. I mean, look at babies. When babies are born, all they do is live in a routine. You as a parent, I mean, I know that you don't have any kids, but I've got 2 because I'm an old fart now. But you as parents have to adapt to that baby's routine, because the baby ain't going to adapt to yours. And that's exactly what I like to hear, like with yourself there, saying, right, okay, let's get a book, let's write everything down, let's do this thing for you, let's do that thing for you. I have a very high elite level athlete who's a strong woman, and she came to me as well, and she said the exact same thing and said, I've really lost it. I've lost structure. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm literally just getting into the kitchen and I'm grabbing shit as I'm going, I'm not making my meals anymore, and I'm not doing this. So I'm like, right, okay, so let's have a look at this. What time are you going to train? Let's have that in there first of all, because we're aiming towards the Arnold. So that's got to be really bloody important. And we worked her day around. I gave her time caps. So I'm like, right, 60 minutes tops. That's how long you're going to spend on doing the housework. You know that you've got the housework to do. 60 minutes, that's it, set a timer, get it done. And I made her send me her checklist at the end of every morning, beginning of every morning, and at the end of every day, of exactly everything that she'd written off, even down to reading a book before she went to bed. And it really does help. So I'm glad about that, realistically. I mean, a lot of people ask me all the time what my daily routine is like, and my daily routine is quite boring. Because I'm quite busy, so I'm quite boring. But have you got any specific like morning ritual? Have you got a morning routine that people would be interested in hearing about?
People will probably think I'm weird. So I wake up around about 5:30.
Yeah.
And then I run through a round of posing. And then I run through my round of posing, and then I go and walk the dog. So I literally chuck some boots and some joggers on and go walk the dog through the muddy field. And then we get back. I have my breakfast. It depends how long we've done the walk. If I've only done the short walk with the dog, because she has to have 2 walks a day because she's a princess.
Yeah.
She's only a little dog as well, but she still has to have 2 walks.
Yeah.
If I've done the short walk with the dog, I'll come back and I will start work straight away with my online clients, like my check-ins if it's between Monday and Friday. And then I will have my breakfast round about 8 o'clock. Whereas if I do the longer walk with the dog, I come back and usually it's about time for me to have breakfast. And then I'll crack on with work after that. But yeah, for me, most days are the same. Like that is no matter whether it's a training day, a rest day, or if I'm working in the clinic, or if it's a weekend and I'm not working at all. It's still the same. I'm still up at 5:30 on a Saturday and a Sunday.
Yeah.
I'm still out walking my dog at like 6 o'clock in the morning. It is always the same. The only thing I have struggled with, which is quite funny, is, you know, because it's dark in the morning.
Yeah.
I've got a thing about walking in the dark.
Oh,
like,
really?
Yeah, I can't do it. I don't like it. But only because where I walk the dog, there's no lights, there's no like street lights or anything like that. It's a field and then it's in the woods. But my mum bought me a dog lead with a light on it.
Brilliant.
So now I'm fine now. I don't know why I didn't just use a torch on my phone, but I've just got a thing about walking the dog in the dark. I don't like it.
Yes,
but I've overcome it. I've overcome it this winter.
That's it. You don't have problems, you only have solutions. And the solution was your mum.
But yeah, so that's pretty much my routine. I literally just get up, I do my posing. Obviously, if it's a check-in day, I'll check in just after I've done my posing as well. And then it's pretty much work and walk and back to work again.
Yeah. And that is the life of an online coach, people. You know, and I have to say, it is the same. Realistically, that is my routine as well. The only privilege that I have is that I actually get to walk my dog, who's a big dog, not a little one. And he has to have 2 half-hour walks a day because otherwise he tears the house up. He is 8 years old, and yet he still thinks that he's about, 5 months. He's ridiculous.
Lola's the same.
Oh, it's ridiculous. It's just like, would you just grow up? Just grow up, But
if she doesn't get her 2 walks, like for any reason, like say for example, if Cuba said to me like, look, only do 1 of your walks today, we need half steps on a deload or whatever. My like on prep, he said to me like one day, he was like, right, I don't want you doing any steps, just rest. No training. And I was like, oh my god, my poor dog. Yeah. I literally had to ring my mum. I was like, please come walk my dog or she's gonna go mad. Like she will chew up everything and anything and just run around the house like an absolute nutter. Sure. If she doesn't get her walks.
See, you're talking about that like you're talking about my son. Now, my son's a little bit of a moron. Now, he's got a big background in gymnastics as well, my little lad does, because my husband was... Yeah, so my husband was a gymnast. He was an international gymnast. And he went all the way up to... Now, where was it that he went? Oh, I can't remember now. But he was going to go... It was a big international competition anyway. And he got all the way there and he was going to Australia. And they basically said that they didn't need him. So they just basically put him on a flight and put him all the way back. Now, talk about gutted. I know, right? It was horrendous. So all these people who have gone on a flight to Spain and then, Spain locked down and they just kind of went, okay, just turn around and go back home. And it was only like half an hour in the air. You imagine doing that for 2 days and then getting told that, and you've worked so hard to get to that level and to compete, to then be told you're not competing, you're not needed. So get on a flight and go back home. And he had to share the flight home with somebody else. But yeah, he had an injury and that basically just like destroyed his gymnastics career. Now, a lot of people actually think that gymnasts can be really old, but an old gymnast is like 28.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because otherwise they're broken. But I mean, Scott's broken as it is at the moment, and he's a lot older than 28. But he kind of like lost his career from that. But our lad was the same thing. So he started gymnastics when he was 3. And then all of a sudden he was like ridiculously good. He just kind of like kept on cracking on and he got into the British boys squad.
Which, wow.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. And then you know what little boys are like when it comes to like 10 or 11 years old and their mates are saying, come and play football. Oh yeah, I will do. Oh wait, I can't. I've got a gym. Because he was training 3 hours a night, 6 days a week. And it was a hell of a commitment. And it's almost like bodybuilding realistically, isn't it? Because it is a commitment that you've got to do. But yeah, sorry, I just went off on a massive tangent there about like running around the house. But yeah, I've noticed that in the lockdown and since he's got a little bit older and he's not going out and doing certain things, by the time it comes to, 7:30 and we're all kind of chilling out together, getting ready for bed, he just has this mad half hour and he's jumping all over the place and, doing backflips and everything like that. And it's just like, mate, you need to go out for a walk. I need to actually go and walk you. So, but yeah, I mean, the routines are really important, and it's the same for kids as well. Kids need those routines, and they need those boundaries. So I mean, obviously I know that I'm taking up quite a lot of your time here. I'm just kind of like jibber jabbering. But in terms of the lockdown, let's just talk about the lockdown and your goals, because you said that you want your clients to achieve something and they need a goal for the end of this lockdown. What is yours? Have you led by example?
Yeah, so my goals, I've kind of set two. I want to take on 10 more online clients. That's like my kind of business goal. And then that will be me at capacity, and I can't physically take on any more. I want to, so I've been a little bit naughty during the last couple of months. I got an email saying that I've not done any CPDs. So yeah, so my governing body for my sports therapy, you have to do so many CPDs within so many months, and you have to keep on top of it to keep your insurance and things like that. Now they emailed me saying that obviously due to the lockdown, they aren't actually criticising people for it. Because other people have got things going off in their life, but they did email me saying you have done zero CPDs since March. I was like, oh
dear. That's quite a long time, to be fair.
Yeah. So I am on CPDs. I want to do at least because a lot of them are like short courses now at the minute that you can do online. Some of them cost, some of them are free. I've jumped on quite a few online ones that I've booked myself in for that are free. So I'm just going to make sure that I'm getting CPDs done. So that's kind of like my business and learning side of things, is mainly CPDs and getting a couple more online clients. I've also signed up to the Muscle Mentors portal. I'm gonna just kind of work my way through that as well in like sort of spare time and things like that. As I'm always up for learning. I feel like nobody knows everything.
No,
everybody can always learn. So I do want to just kind of go through that and just learn from that. So that's like learning side of things. Personal life, I've made like a vow to myself that every day when I go on my morning walk, I'm going to message 3 people, whether they are friends or just like people that I know. I'm going to message them and just check in on them and just make sure they're okay. But then, yeah, other than that, I think that's pretty much my goals.
That's really lovely, actually. I like the bit about checking in on each other. I think that that's really something that people almost have forgotten about in this world, in this day and age. Have you ever seen Ready Player One?
No.
Right. If anybody hasn't seen Ready Player One, right, my family went mad about it. They're like, you've got to watch it, Mum, you've got to watch it. So I was like, okay, fine, we'll watch this Ready Player One. And you know what? It's about people who live in a virtual world. So they just have a VR helmet on and they just walk around in a virtual world, and they just literally disregard the world that they are living in. And I find it so relatable because in this day and age, I mean, again, I'm an old fart, so people are actually saying, oh my God, Vic, you're so old. But people who walk around, we walked the dog last night, right? And this guy was literally on his phone like this, to the point where he nearly walked straight into us because he had no idea what was going on in the outside world. Yeah. And I think communication is so vitally important, not just from a friendship point of view or a family point of view, but a coaching community point of view as well. So if you cannot communicate with your clients, like you were saying about just then, I'm going to message 3 people, whether it's a client, friend, family member, or whoever, just to check in on them. If you can't talk to your clients in the same kind of communication pattern that you can talk to other humans, then I don't think you're worth your salt as a coach, in my personal perspective. And I think clients should be able to do that as well. On some of my client check-ins over this last week, it was really lovely because I actually had the question posed to me, because I have a little box in my check-ins and it says, you know, have you got any questions for me about this next week? And I've had a few of them say, actually, Vic, how are you doing? Because you spend all of this time looking after us. How are you? And you know what? It's like, oh, do you know what? That's really nice. I really
Yeah.
like being asked that.
I've got something similar on the bottom of mine, and quite a few of them, like when it was like their check-in before Christmas, they all said like Merry Christmas and hope you have some downtime over Christmas and blah blah blah. And then afterwards it was like hope you have a nice Christmas. And then obviously they're all asking like how am I during lockdown and things like that, which is lovely. I think it's nice. And I think to have that sort of personal level with your clients and it not all just be like do this, do that, blah blah blah. And for them to be able to feel like they can chat to you on that level, it is something else. I think it's a little bit different. It's nice.
Yeah, absolutely. It does set you apart, and it makes you, it does make you approachable, because then if they have kind of gone off plan in any regard, they're not going to be afraid to come up and talk to you about it.
Yeah, definitely.
Because, you know, people do that. You know, people will have time off out over Christmas, and people will not adhere to their meal plan and that kind of thing. I mean, in fact, we had a little bit of a chat about this, didn't we? About women not eating enough. And it was like, I can't remember what you put on. I think it was your post-workout, and it was leg day. So you had like 6 pancakes and stuff like that, a post-leg. And it was like, oh, so good to see women actually eat, you know. Have you actually encountered that with some of your female clients when you gave them all this food and they were like, oh my God, what are you doing?
Like so many of my clients, some of them when they first start with me, they're like, oh, this is so much food, I'm buzzing, and they love it. And then some of them are like, oh my God, it's so much, it's quite daunting. But then like when you actually break it down to them and give them a reason why they're eating this food, and the reason why the calories are what they are, and relate it to their goals, I think sometimes they do find it a little bit easier. But yeah, I've had quite a few clients find it quite daunting and a bit like, oh, like that's a lot of food. And then a lot of them have actually been surprised when they've eaten that food and still dropped weight.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, we're clearly not on enough food here.
Yeah. It's so good, isn't it? I know, I put my strongmen on a certain amount of food because they're just feeling awful with their digestion or what have you. And I just had one actually check in yesterday, and he was like, dude, I lost 10 pounds in a week. I'm like, yeah, that's not all fat though, to be perfectly honest. I don't want to pull the wool. It's amazing how much inflammation can come off. But yeah, that is a big thing that I want everybody to take away from this podcast from me and Kat, is just like, please eat. Do not starve yourself, because trust me, when you come to prep, you are going to want to have the food.
Yeah, massively. Like, and I feel like when you've got a good starting point for a prep with higher calories, you don't have to go as low. And I feel like it massively, as a female as well, it affects like your cycles and things. So I feel like as you get closer to show, the less calories you're on, the more that's going to affect your cycle. And I feel like I noticed this year. So in previous preps, I have lost my period, and then it's kind of been like 10 months to get my period back post show, which is such a long time. And then this time round, I was supposed to be on like 2 weeks out from my show, and I've been having periods up until then. That was the one that I missed, which was 2 weeks out. And then 2 weeks post show, bam, was back.
Brilliant.
So I've literally missed one in the whole year, so which is crazy. And because I started dieting in March, in the beginning of the lockdown, the first ever lockdown, and then obviously went to sort of maintenance level through the summer, just because the shows got pushed back and they didn't know when the shows were going to be. So to say that I've been in either a deficit or maintenance for most of the year since March, obviously not now. But up until my show, like to say I've been in a deficit and maintenance level calories, like, and to keep my periods throughout that, I honestly think it's down to sort of supplements and as well my calories.
Absolutely. Women lose their menstrual cycle through lack of energy availability, and that is all through your caloric intake. It's not anything to do with a specific amount of fats or a specific amount of carbs. A lot of people do say that and say, oh, women should have a lot more fats because of the hormones. It's like, it's not. It's just complete energy availability, and that's the reason why we need more calories. Women do need more calories than they really do give credit for. And there's so many people that come to us, which I'm sure that you can agree with, who just come to you on like 1,200-1,300 calories, and they're like, oh God, you know, so you've got to build them up before you can bring them back down, and various other things, because of, you know, humans are not books, unfortunately, and they're not calculators, and they're not robots, and we have to work with them. hence the reason why it is a coach-client relationship. But anyway, I think that we have been kind of like going on off on one for a little bit of a while now. So I'm going to ask you one more question, which is the same question that I asked to every single one of my guests, not clients. Cam is not my client, everybody. So the question is, if you could choose 3 people to sit down and have dinner with, who would they be and why? And they can be dead or alive.
Oh my God, that's such a hard question. I was not prepared.
I know, see?
Okay. So, I don't know. Like anybody.
Anybody you like. It can be dead or alive, but who would you like to have dinner with?
So I'm a massive fan of Oksana.
Of course.
So
yeah.
I feel like it would have to be Oksana because I love her. I just think she's amazing. And no matter what, she's always the champion.
Yeah.
So Oksana. And then I would have to say my granddad. I'd love to have my granddad, bless him. And then I don't know who else. This would be a weird dinner party. Oksana, granddad. Who else? I don't know.
We might have to come back for a part 2 on that one then. So have a think about it.
I think we might have to.
Yeah.
That's a hard one.
About it. It's a good question to ask because it does just kind of make you think, oh wow, you know, who does mean something in my life? Not from like, you know, like obviously your granddad, he came to your mum.
Yeah.
But who has also had an impact in my life, which is Oksana, because you know you enjoy her, you love the way that she moves and everything else, and the way you're talking about it before. So it's a good question to kind of pose.
Yeah, I've looked up to her for like since I first started competing, before I even wanted to do fitness. I always thought she was amazing. Like I was just so in awe of her all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
I still think
that Michael Jackson routine.
Oh my God.
I just fell in love with her and I was like, oh my God, that is incredible.
Yeah, she's amazing.
So yeah, I can second you on that one. But if you have a think and you find that third one, when I post up the podcast, I will actually put it in as the third guest in the comments or in the Instagram tag. So do have a good think about it and put it over. But if you can just let everybody know where they can contact you, if they want you for coaching or for some gymnastics routines or whatever it is like that, and then I can put that in the comment section below too.
Yeah, sure. So people, you can either message me on Instagram, or you can I think my Instagram's that's so bad. So my Instagram's Kamara Jane _IFBB Pro. And if you message me on there, I'll get back to you. Or you can either email me on coachedbycam@gmail.com. Both of them are completely fine to message me for coaching or for posing or anything else. Is cool.
Wonderful sauce. So guys, that is everything. I'm going to put all of Cam's details down on the comment section as per usual. So I'll give her all of the tags, we'll put it on. Please make sure that you do listen to this, give us a like, give us a share, tag us both in it, pull a stupid face, whatever it is like that you want to do, and we can share the podcast around so I can get even some more incredible guests on. So Cam, thank you so much for your time today. I really do appreciate it. I will catch up with you very soon. Guys, thank you very much for tuning in to, again, another episode of Don't Fear the Weight, and we will be back on the next episode. Bye-bye.